Welcome to the Attempted Optimism Podcast, where we're just trying our very best. I am your host, Brian.
I'm Ben.
And I'm J-Dog.
Justin's our special guest this week. We kicked him off the regular show. Brian has replaced him.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
Not really, but we do have Brian back for us, and the reason Brian is hosting this week is because this is Brian's idea. The podcast came out of his brain last week, so we decided.
Bad, you can blame me.
Yeah, we decided we should do it. So, Brian, what are we doing this week?
This week we're talking about things that we absolutely hate, our own pet peeves.
Okay.
And the way that I define a pet peeve, maybe not the same as everybody else, but basically a pet peeve to me is something that I especially hate. So it's not something that's unique to me, but it's something that pushes me over the edge just a little bit further, in my opinion, than everybody else.
Okay. All right. So we're going to be running down our top 5 pet peeves. And I think we just throw it.
I kind of want to get a prediction first. I want to know who out of this group is going to end up looking like the absolute just craziest person by the end of this because of their pet peeves. And I want to know who's going to do it. Who's going to have like the mild pet peeves where it's like everybody does that. And then who's going to have like who's just going to be like, they're close to murdering somebody, basically.
I think it's you. I mean, I think you're going to
be on both, or I have really mild ones.
No,
but also
we think you're the one that's the murderer.
I think you're going to look the craziest in the end.
I think I will. I think I will.
At least 4 of mine, you guys are going to be like, dude, me too. Totally me too.
I think some of mine are normal and some of mine are abnormal. So I think I got a mixture. But I definitely think Justin's the murderer of the group. So, but we'll find out. So I think we start with Justin. Justin, what is your number 5? Your pet peeve on your number 5, the thing that irritates you the most?
This one's a little weak sauce. This one I know for a fact is going to be shared by at least Ben, and I'm pretty sure by both of you. Okay. So my number 1 pet peeve, my number 5 pet peeve is cheaters in video games.
I mean, I don't like cheaters, but it definitely doesn't make my top 5. So maybe you won't be the murderer of the group just based on number 5.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty mild.
Okay.
I definitely don't like the cheaters, but I agree. I'm like, there's always going to be cheaters in every game. I try to write that game off as like not real, you know? It gives me an excuse to be bad is what I'm saying.
I like that, yeah. All right, Brian, you want me to go or you want to go next?
Doesn't matter, man. Call it.
Okay, I'm going to go and we'll let you finish up the pack. All right, number 5 Sounds on good. My list. Okay? Reply alls. Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. It's not the initial reply all. Because the initial reply all is typically very awkward most of the time. Like you get that email and you're like, man, I really wish I wouldn't have received that. Right. It's the people who reply all to the reply all to tell everybody to stop replying all. But some people, they just feel the need to reply all to the reply alls. And that drives me insane because then my inbox is just like constantly cycling. So that's me. All right, Brian.
My number 5 is when somebody is talking to me while I am talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. I hate this.
Oh, this could have been on my list. Much. Oh my gosh, that could have been on my list.
That is my number 5. That is my lowest of my pet peeves. So maybe I'm the serial killer. We'll find out.
He is. We're about to find out. All right, number 4, Justin. What you got for us?
Number 4. This one probably sets me off more commonly than anything else on the list.
So it could have been number 1.
Especially when traveling.
Okay.
Well, no, I would say it's the most immediate reaction of rage.
Okay.
That I get. Okay. So number 4 for me is 2 people going the same speed in both lanes of a 2-lane highway.
Oh goodness. Yep.
Hate it. Oh, I hate it.
I definitely think if I lived still in San Antonio, that traffic would be on my top 5 because traffic just in general makes me very, very upset, very angry. But because I live in tiny town Texas and there's no traffic here, it doesn't bother me right now. So here's my number 4 right here. People being late.
Do you know what? This is I know this is a pet peeve for you, but I couldn't place it because this is what you do in video games as well.
Yeah.
We need to be rotating people.
Yeah, very much so. You start to see why I'm very angry when I've called something out 4 times and people are still like dilly-dallying and I'm like there. You know, I'm like,
the number 1
what are we doing?
This is why I struggle to play with you is because I am not
Keeping up.
naturally a prompt person, and I don't like. I'm cool. I have a lot of grace for people who run late and all that kind of stuff. Actually, my wife has made me much more prompt of a person, as well as my job. We have meetings that have to start at a certain time, have to end at a certain time. So I'm much better than I was. I used to just be like, 15 minutes late. That's pretty close. I made an effort, you know.
Good enough.
Yeah, this is very much. That's definitely so that's my number 4. All right, Brian, you.
Yeah, my number 4 is when someone insists, they come into a conversation late and they insist to know what you're talking about, and you tell them, don't even worry about it. It's not worth the backstory. It's not worth it at all. They insist to know. I have to know, what are you guys talking about? You fill them in, and they still react negatively when they hear the story, even though you warned them, hey, it's a long run for a short slide. It's not worth the effort. They got to know, and then they're like, well, that's a dumb story. Well, I didn't want to tell you in the first place, but you really had me in a...
Now you've wasted my time and made me mad. Thank you for your time. Like, oh man, I get that. I would argue what might even be as worse as that is when you visibly see them switch off while you're still telling the story that they asked to hear. Oh my gosh. Mm-hmm. It's not even on my list. Man, I'm just finding all kinds of things that irritate me tonight.
That might be worse. In the end, is not caring about the story. That's a decision, I guess. I don't know how it's going to land. But if you just turn it off, oh boy. Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
I had to settle myself.
Okay, number 3.
Number 3. Getting comfortable under the sheets and then having to move because my nose itches.
Okay, I mean, honestly, you are the mild one of the group.
What? Actually,
this made your
what's weird is that
nose, because
I think I'm crazier because it's really little things that really set me off.
This made your top 5. Mm-hmm. This is number 3 on your list.
Yeah. The whole point of the pet peeve is that is a specific thing, but anytime I'm comfortable and I have to get up because, or I have to move, or I have to become uncomfortable for something, like you sit down and the remote's on the other chair or something. Like it's like little things like that like
Justin just breaks a window in his house because the remote's like 4 feet away from him. He can't reach it.
Basically.
Okay, I changed my mind. He is the psycho because these little things are really.
I like how this has turned into a competition of which one of us is
we're seeing how valid everybody's pet peeves are.
Yeah.
Right, Ben, what's your number 3?
Number 3 for me. So this is where it might turn a little crazy for myself, okay? Because this is a very specific thing that over the last 10 years, I would say, has started to drive me insane. And that is the word hangry, okay? Here's the reason why. When people say, I'm hangry, what they're saying to me is, I am going to justify a bad attitude until I eat. And that is very frustrating to me as an adult because hangriness or being hangry is a real thing. Like, it's just a lowering of blood sugar and your body reacts and you're hungry and you start to get irritated. But what you are saying to me is you are an adult who is now going to choose to be nasty until someone feeds you. So basically, you are a toddler. And that just, I mean, it's a quick way to tilt me.
Is it self-diagnosed hangry? Because I think the origin of the term was like someone's acting bad because they're hungry, and somebody else is like, I think they were just hangry. But like when you're saying, I'm hangry, so I'm just going to be a pain in the butt.
I think more than anything, it's now that because the term is widely used, right? Yeah. People use it all the time. It is now turned into a justifier to act a specific way. But yeah,
I cannot wait to see where that goes.
So that's number 3 for me. Brian, what you got?
My number 3 is something that I just actually learned the terminology for before this podcast. It is what is known as a circular definition. And what that is when somebody uses a term that is being defined in the definition for that term. For example, if I didn't know what the word literally meant, and I said, what do you mean literally? What does literally mean? And you said, oh, it's like being literal. I hate it. I can't stand it. That's not a definition at all.
I can see how this could be frustrating. Yes.
I hate it.
Okay, what are we on? 2?
Numero dos. The last 2 for me are what makes me probably seem more and more insane, but they're also very much people centric.
Okay.
And my number 2 is having to repeat myself.
What?
Having to
I can't believe he got baited into that.
Got
no
him.
shot. There's no shot.
I thought I was glitching out or something, and you didn't quite see it. You know what?
Terrible.
There's no way.
It makes so much sense that you would do that because of the friendship that we have in this podcast and talking about pet peeves. I knew.
Deep breaths.
I knew you were going to do
I
something.
Can't believe you fell for that.
Is the vein in my forehead sticking out?
No, it's too shiny for us to see.
Keep it that way.
There's no way.
Quick reaction time. I have to admit that was good.
So
Great.
I'll remember that, Justin. I'll remember not to ask you to repeat yourself. I don't want you to be
You
upset.
are full of crap.
You
You tilt me more than anybody. In fact, I thought about putting you as my number 1 pet peeve.
I mean, that's hurtful.
Your existence is my.
That would be pretty good.
I mean, that just kind of hurts my feelings, but like not that much for me to care. What'd you say?
All of us, our top 3 are just each other. Justin is Ben, and Ben is Brian. Brian is Justin.
Okay, number 2 for me, and I think a lot of people can relate with this. Number 2 for me is eating noises, and I couldn't find the definition. There's a real, it's a real word, a real condition that goes.
I think it's mesophobia or something like that.
Mesophobia, yep, that's it. Or no, it's misophonia.
Misophonia. Is that what it is?
Where you get irrationally upset at a specific noise.
Okay, but here's the thing, and I think that I think Brian can back me up. I don't know if he will on a live setting like this, but I grew up with a father who might be the loudest person on the planet. I mean, when he blows his nose, windows break in the house. Okay, I mean when he sneezes, it sounds like a Gulf Force wind coming in or something. I mean, it's just outrageous. But when he eats, I mean, you could be in the other room and you could hear it as if he was sitting next to you. When he eats popcorn, it's like small atom bombs are going off in his mouth. It's so loud. I just can't. So I grew up with that, and it has always irritated me because I try to be very conscious of how I eat. Sometimes it doesn't work, and I understand that. Not everybody can be great. But I try to be very conscious of that. But, I mean, I've gotten a little bit better over the years, I think. But when I was like teenagers, early 20s, when I would go and eat at their house, there would be times when I'd actually have to physically get up and leave the dinner table because it was just too much. Like, it would overwhelm me. So this is number 2.
Lord have mercy.
I think at some point in my life, it could have very easily been number 1 because it just irritates me. I can't do ice chomping.
I'm scared for what your number 1 is with how you're reacting to this.
Brian just had like a negative reaction to ice chomping because here's the thing.
I don't mind eating with mouth open. That doesn't actually bother me unless it's like gross, unless it's like coming back out or whatever. But crunching of ice, it feels like someone puts my spine like in ice every time it happens. I'm like, oh, I can't. Please stop doing that. I hate it.
Again, I love my wife. I think this is just part of marriage, like things that you do, you and your spouses do irritate each other. I mean, my wife and I have been together for almost 8 years as far as marriage goes. So like things irritate us. But Charlesy chomps ice. But not only that, she taught Oliver to chomp ice. So they'll be like sitting in the same room, like just chomping ice. And I'm like over here, like in like, like rocking in the corner, feeling like a psychopath because it's just so overwhelming.
My wife is the same person. She'll yell at my daughter across the room, "Look, your mouth closed," because Sadie will just be chomping away on food. But then she will take a drink of her like ice and be like, just crunching the ice. I'm like, no way. That's not fair.
Oh yeah. So the misophonia is definitely up number 2 on my list. Yep. Brian, what you got for 2?
So if you know me, I do not like to choose. I don't like to choose anything.
Oh, this is definitely.
I have analysis paralysis. My Enneagram type is 9. I like everybody to be happy. If somebody else, I can make do anywhere. So when I don't have a preference, but someone forces me to make a decision. No, Brian, it's your birthday. You have to choose. No, Brian, you don't get to come here very often. You have to choose. Okay, fine. Let's go to Chick-fil-A. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's go see a movie. What pushes it over the edge to a pet peeve for me is when someone then has a problem with my choice, who forced me to make a choice.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind choosing where to eat. I enjoy it. But I'm definitely with you. Like, if I've chosen, please don't complain. If you didn't like it, you should have picked somewhere else, you know.
However the decision gets made, if you were complicit in that decision or forced it and didn't like bring up any like negative feelings about it, don't all of a sudden be like, oh, my stomach has hurt all day since we had that Taco Bell. I can't believe Brian wanted to go to Taco Bell. Just, oh my goodness.
It's funny that a lot of the things we've talked about all fit into my number one, which we're about to get to. I think Justin's up for number one.